Well, hey everybody, thanks for joining. So I've got a really good couple of folks I want to talk to because they have a pretty interesting story that I want them to share. And we talk a lot about MAGA. What is it that gets people to kind of wake up to what's going on or gets them to change their viewpoint? I think this is a pretty unique story we've got here, and I got connected to them through Rich Logis, who everybody knows from Leaving MAGA, and it's George and Esmeralda Doilez. Am I saying that right? I'm struggling with that. Doilez.
Doilez,
Do-
D-O-I-L-E-Z, Doilez.
Doilez. All right,
Yeah.
perfect. Perfect. Well, you guys got some attention lately, and what I want to talk about is what happened to you, kind of your story, and then from there, I guess what have you learned? What are your thoughts? Things along that line. So first off, you guys were harassed, really. I think you were like
Yeah,
even 7 miles from the border. You were harassed at a checkpoint, certainly racially profiled. So why don't you talk about what happened? And I think that'll help people remember the story because you got a lot of attention for it. So yeah, if you don't mind sharing.
right. So I think it was August 6th, right? Yeah. August 6th. We were traveling to the dentist. I was a couple of years ago, I was hurt in an agricultural accident with the tractors. So we've been doing this routine, the same roads for 2.5 years now. And on this particular trip, we decided to veer off into Hukumba to explore campsites and whatnot. And we had noticed just vehicles, white trucks and stuff. And what happened was a black SUV got behind us. There was men in dark glasses, kind of like bandit mask. Um, they were just traveling, go behind us, and then at one time got in front of us, circled around, came this way, ended up um in our trip that this unmarked vehicle threw on some lights and pulled us over. And then that's when you know I still wasn't sure at the time what happened because they weren't presentable as law enforcement. They were just guys throwing up a blue and red light up on their rear view mirror and turned it on. And then so I pulled over, and then that's when my wife, she had been recording, and then people can, tune into her YouTube and get more information, because we recorded the entire thing from beginning to end because we didn't want to cut anything. We wanted the people to see exactly what the behavior is going on from the United States government. And that's what happened. And now we're here talking to you, and then we've had other podcasts, and we're just going to keep talking because I believe that we were fooled into our vote towards MAGA, and I think you also were Republican too. And
Mhm.
so I just a lot of things, and even since then, a lot of things have happened. So it's just the world is just on fire.
Yeah, it really is. So what's your YouTube channel so people can look it up if they want to see the full video?
I think it's Esmeralda. I believe it's a line and then it's like '07.
Let's see here. It'd be a
And you'll be able to find it because it got a lot
if
of
she just if
attention.
yeah
That's
if
for sure.
anybody just put in George Doilez,
Yeah.
uh it
Okay.
pops up like on the first thing now for some reason. And then I have nieces and nephews, and they've called, hey, you're on TikTok. So I was like,
You're
what?
welcome.
And so they're like stoked, like their Uncle George is up there, and we've gotten a lot of negative response, of course, from a lot of people. But it's surprising how a majority is so supportive of this. They're like, what they did to you was wrong. But not only that, there's so many people like us out there that did fall for Trump, and we fell into this illusion of the. I mean, it was kind of like getting him rooting for your favorite football team for the Super Bowl. Over those 3 years, all the media was throwing so much at us that they were attacking Trump, and we bit into it, and we thought everything that was shown on TV, we believed it. And then also, we're border town people, so it's
Mhm.
not like, people say, well, a lot of this is fake, but we saw with our own eyes the buses, the white buses coming into the hotels full of illegals. And they were housing them. We know the owners of the restaurants here that were feeding these people 3 times a day under government contracts. So there was a
Mhm.
lot going on here that we witnessed. So it kind of got us, it got, not kind of, it got us in our vote to hey, we got to get involved because, and we saw, our town is small, so we saw
Mhm.
people escape. Not, I don't think they were detained there, but they did have security. But people were walking off of that um compounds, the hotels, breaking windows in Walmart parking lots. People were not all, they were crazy people housed in these
Mhm.
hotels. And the law enforcement, if people can go into the logs, they'll see the proof during that time of what we had to go through as small town Americans here. And it was bad. So I mean, we thought we had to get involved and do something. But her channel is,
Esmeralda dash 07H.
Okay, Esmeralda-07H. Cool.
maybe
Well, let me
we're not YouTubers, so she just did that real fast. And we're out there and posted the videos. We were like, somebody's gotta see this because this is not
Nope,
right.
they sure did. They sure did. Well, listen, so let's talk about that because I think it's important that you mention what drew you into it. And, I personally been very critical of the Democrats saying, for too long they ignored the border issue. I don't know, you guys may not know this about me. I just retired, but I was a pilot in the Air National Guard, and we actually flew the border in Arizona, and we would
Okay.
go down there. I think we were based out of Tucson, and we'd fly the border. And you'd see we'd find bodies all the time. We
Yeah.
were a reconnaissance plane. We'd find bodies because coyotes would bring these people over and then desert them. And Arizona's not like just one big industrial area, right? It's a lot of desert, a lot of areas people get lost and die. It's human trafficking, and I think that's an important point. Is what drew you in was Donald Trump took legitimate grievances that people have and put voice to it. But then what you then experienced is this in practice is not about like, hey, let's just get rid of the criminals, let's control the border. Now it's rolled into racial profiling. And
Correct.
the interesting thing about this is, so you talk about, the SUVs and everything. I mean, you didn't know they were police, right? You didn't know they were law enforcement, probably
No.
even when they started talking to you, but that's got to be a little frightening, right?
Absolutely. We were. I mean, I was in fear I just didn't want my wife to see something bad. We did not, I didn't, I wasn't convinced at all because of the way they weren't even, if people were to watch her video from beginning to end, both of those agents, in the beginning weren't even fully attired until the end of the video. You'll see they're tucked in. The one gentleman's, makeshift vest was tightened up, and this guy on her side, he had his shirt out, no badge showing, no gun showing, and just, I mean, it was like we're in the middle of nowhere traveling, and so we feel like I felt like we're getting attacked by bandits. That's what
Hmm.
it felt like.
Hmm. Well, I
There
mean,
was
you have cartel that operate up there.
correct. And then not only that, we didn't even feel safe once we, kind of, I mean, not once I feared, okay, this is real, they are law, I mean, government. Um, I still at that time didn't feel safe the way they were treating us as American citizens, because it was because of the color of our skin. It had nothing, I don't, I hate to say those things because I believe all people aren't prejudiced. I think it's government
Mhm.
that makes, people believe that they're prejudiced, and I have to hate my neighbor. I don't hate my neighbor. I love my neighbor, whether it's a drug addict, a person of color. That's not what we're about. And I know my neighbors are the same way as I am, you
Mhm.
know? It's all this propaganda, things pushed through the media that has caused division through all of us, and that's not what it is, you know. But anyways, yeah, like I said, they were racial profiling us. And the ironic thing about it, now that I look back, it was just that one gentleman who said that there was nobody higher than him. I don't know if you watched the video, but he said he is the supervisor and there's nobody else I can contact. He was white as can be, and all the other brown people, they were all brown, all the
Mhm.
other agents, and they were new, young, scared, and they were following this man's orders blindly. And they trampled on our constitutional rights, and it's evident in that video.
Well, that's the scary thing is they're young agents, young law enforcement. So they come in, probably some of them, I assume, are, trainees, right? Kind of learning the ropes. They're with this guy that's supposed to be able to
Right.
show them, here's the Constitution, here's how we operate within it. And so now they're getting bad, obviously getting bad mentorship. And
Yeah.
on top of that, I think the frightening thing you said, when he said there's nobody higher than me, I'm the top dude, basically.
Yeah.
At that point, you feel helpless, right? Like
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
you have constitutional rights, but he's basically telling you, I don't care.
Right.
You don't have rights here with me. And
Exactly.
it's crazy. That's a
It,
crazy feeling.
it is, and we see that happening all over now. It's real. It is real, and I think America needs to wake up to the con that a lot of us fell into with the this current administration, but also just to wake up around us and really evaluate what's happening in our world right now. It's bigger than the immigration. It's bigger than what's happened to us. Um, what's going to be next with these agents of the government, of the federal government? They're going to be standing in front of the Vons and Albertsons grocery stores, IDing before we can buy food. What is that? What's going to happen? That's where we're headed. That's
Hmm.
what it looks like. That's the way they're treating us. So yeah, it was frightening, and it's a scary place right now in America. And I'm hoping, people like you and ourselves, we can turn this around.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
what I appreciate about you guys, and is look, the easiest thing for you to have done, because I want to talk about, which I think is unfair, but some of the criticism that's come against you, which you guys obviously read. The thing about you is you were willing to say, okay, look, the veil's kind of been lifted from our eyes. We see what this is, and we want to speak out. The
right?
easiest thing to do for anybody is to be like, well, I've changed my opinion, but I don't want to put myself out there, because what inevitably comes, and I get this too, guys, what inevitably comes is like, well, you should have known. It's
Yeah,
your fault that these guys won. You should have known. I don't have any compassion for you. I get that
e-
all the time because I'm a
yep,
Republican. So it's
e-
like, why didn't you see
yeah,
it coming?
exactly.
Why don't you address that? Because in my mind, that's completely unfair, because
It is.
what we want, everybody kind of comes to this realization at some point by some way. Your reason was living and experiencing that firsthand. You've chosen to speak out. Why don't you talk about how you would respond to somebody that's critical of you?
So honestly, my first initial immediate response is, "Are you telling me Cat Kamala was better?" That's my first response. I mean, there's just no way. I mean, yeah, I think we all, in a way, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or whoever you are, where you stand in your party, got fooled in one way or another, because the way things went down, Kamala wasn't even elected, and they just threw her in here like, here, if you're fourth string, get in, see what you can do. And
Hmm.
that's not how America works. So that's my initial response. But yeah, it is like that. You should have known. No sympathy. Some is more hateful, especially if people would go through the comments on her video. It's just, my God, is there that much hate out there? Or are these I like to call them these chat bots, or what, getting involved in
Yep.
algorithms. I don't know what's real anymore, anyways. But that's my initial response. But it is hard, and especially to deal with it with from your own family, because
Yeah.
like her side was Democrat. Her whole family's
Hmm.
Democrat. They've always voted Democrat. So when she, voted this way, it was like, oh man. So if we're, and I was not Republican. I never even got involved until, like I said, I felt like this was a calling to do, with everything coming across the media, with the children that they were saying was being raped, that girl Jocelyn. They were blaming it on illegal immigrants, and that Trump was going to be the savior to all this, and he was going to get the bad guys. But that didn't happen. He ended up going for the entire nation that wasn't agreeing with the way Trump speaks.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, it's rough. It's like I said, back to the family. My family, they've always voted conservative their entire lives. They're Christians. So for me, and I just stayed out of it. I've always been the black sheep of the family. I like to just live my life, and follow my dreams, and not the dreams of others. So but now it's like, it's almost like a division between our family, because they believe Trump is doing the godly thing, and it's like sad to look at that, because it's almost like they're hypnotizing a cult.
Mm.
It's cult activity is what I'm seeing. Luckily I have, other siblings and brothers and cousins that agree with us, and they do see through it. I mean, it's a real spiritual warfare right now, especially when you're dealing
Totally.
with your parents and family. It's bad. I believe it's very bad, and it is a cult that they're involved in, and they're praising Trump like he's a god, and it's not. That's not how it is. That's not how we're supposed to be governed.
Listen, man, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm Christian too, and a significant amount of my family, I had this was big national news a handful of years ago, but extended family publicly disowned me in a letter. They
Yeah,
sent a letter to the New York Times,
yeah,
disowning me. And my close family, even those that disagree with me, we've gotten to a point where we manage and they understand that and I think this is the big thing is understanding that what you and I, Esmeralda, George, Adam are doing, we're not doing it to be famous or there's no money in it, right? We're
right,
doing it
right.
because we believe in it. And
Yes,
I think we need to respect anybody that believes in what they're doing. But what you're seeing in MAGA is this guy that is the direct opposite of what Jesus actually talks about in the Bible, the complete opposite of that.
yeah,
And they are worshiping him like he's a god.
yeah.
And in fact, what's the first commandment? Take no gods before me.
Right,
And that's
exactly.
why
And this is
I think it's
idolatry.
so
It's idolatry what we're seeing. We're seeing idolatry right now. Not
that's right.
adultery, but idolatry. And they're treating
That's
him
right.
like as he's a god. And the scriptures that come to my mind when it comes to end times and revelations is when they speak of the beast, it says that they will the people that are deceived will wear his mark on their forehead, and they all wear
Mhm.
MAGA hats. You look in the crowds and it just says MAGA, and that has to be a wake up call a wake up call to all Christians, to all pastors, to all. This is cult activity, period, and we have to wake up
Yep.
to it and save those that we can while there's still time.
Well,
You
that's a
know.
good point. So, you're talking about that, and I think one of the most important things, what I try to do to my big audience is, a number of them are Republicans or people that left MAGA. There's a lot that have just been Democrats, and they don't really understand where we come from. And I
Yeah.
remind people all the time that, like, I think this very easily could have happened to the Democrats, by the way. It
Right.
just
Of
happened to
course.
happen to the Republicans.
Of course. Right.
But
Yeah.
the biggest thing is, when we look at this, like, how do we ultimately win? Is we have to open people's eyes and bring them away, and we have to show them the truth, show them light, show them that we can all disagree, and that's fine. That's exactly what democracy is. But we welcome each other, and that's what your guys' story is. It's feeling firsthand the evil, quite honestly, of this
It is.
administration's way
Yeah.
it's going about it. And so you can present to people the fact that, look, you can walk away too. What has this, if you guys would talk about, like, what has this cost you personally, both coming just generally early support for MAGA, coming clean, you talked about that a little bit with family, but, like, you know, the fact that you've gone public with this. I read my comments, by the way, too. Comments are not a reflection of people, but they do affect you after a while.
Right.
Tell me
Yeah.
about some of that personal cost.
I don't think it was. It really. I think with our mindset right now, we're our goal to reach people outweighs the cost of whatever we're going to lose. We've lost connection with friends, we've lost connection with family, but I think it's temporary. I believe it's temporary. I believe once like you said, the light comes in and the truth is out, people are going to come to it. And then we're going to have to be the same people embracing them. Like, hey, it's okay. Hey, but I said all this to you when you shouldn't have voted that way. You shouldn't have done that. But now it's going to be our turn to embrace you because this is where it's going. This is where it's going.
Hmm.
There's no end. This is the end game. Period. You know, it is evil, like you said, and we've weighed the costs. And we're gonna love them back no matter what comes out or no matter what they throw, what words they throw at us, whatever it is. We're just gonna love them back, and embrace them when it's their turn to wake up like we had to wake up. It was a harsh wake up for us. For me especially, is it's like I got involved for this, to be slapped in
Hmm.
the face. One my main things were for the immigration to clean up the worst of the worst, not to go after the hardworking people, the farmers. I work in agriculture. I drive tractors. It's bad out there right now. Um,
Mhm.
it's horrible. And what's going to happen? We're the source of your guys' food. You know, when there's no farmers, how are you guys going to eat? So is this the plan to really destroy the world? Is he? I mean,
It
because from this administration currently and what they're doing to the fields and the farmers, if they keep this up, there's not going to be no food next year. There's not going to be food in the years to come. You know, our storehouses are not that full and they're not that big. So people need to wake up. We need to get people back to work. The fields, rocking and rolling again. But one thing, like I said, that was our vote to clean up, not to go after the hardworking people, get the criminals off the streets. And the criminals are still here, but the
Mhm.
work is not. The workers are gone,
Mhm.
but the criminals are still on the streets everywhere, but the workers are gone.
That's a crazy thing. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah,
like the
and
direct opposite of that.
exactly. And the second thing, our vote was for the children. Like I said, they were pushing that these people were raping and 13 and 14-year-old girls, and that Trump administration was pushing the Epstein list, and that was my solid vote. I come from a family of secrets, and they tried to. It's like what churches do these days. They cover it up to keep the image, and not just churches, all kinds of different entities and structures. They hide the bad son, they hide the bad kid, the seeds, whatever's bad, so we protect the image. And that's what our current federal government is doing to us with this Epstein files. I voted so these children will have a voice. So these children who
Mhm.
were raped, because I've had to, my life, went through some toil and terms from the beginning. I've been through a lot. I've been through homes, different stuff, jails, prisons, and I went through a bad season of my life. But 20 years ago, I decided, what, this isn't for me. And I gave my life to God, and it's been a struggle. It's been hard, but I kept pushing forward. And now I work. I've never thought I would be a working man. If you would,
Mhm.
Adam, if you were to picture my life, if you were to see my life then to what it is now, you're going to know there's a God. You're going to know there's a God because I am living evidence of a God. I'm a man from prison to purpose. If you ever want to talk on a personal level on the side, we can have those conversations. I have a lot to share. I know people from the streets, and I share to them my beliefs, and what has happened to me. And it's helped several people along the way, and some it hasn't, but we voted for those kids. And then for this administration to say there is no list and it's a hoax, come on, guys. Something's wrong. Something's
Yep.
definitely wrong here. And whether Trump is on the list, I'm not here to point fingers, but he's protecting somebody, and they should not be hiding that stuff from we, the people. We should know what the government is doing before they know what we're doing. And that's the way
That's
it's
right.
supposed to be. The Constitution is our law and it should be respected, and the federal government tramples on that law. So what makes any right-minded citizen and right now in today's world to think that we don't have the right to fight back? And I'm not calling
Mhm.
for, take your guns to the streets and promoting violence. That's not what I'm saying. But you got to speak now. Now is your time to stand. If you're a man out there, you got to protect your wife, protect your family. Go, into your city councils, go to your sheriff, go to your chief, go start talking because something's got to change around here because we got to clean up our government because we can't clean up our neighborhoods until we clean up our government, you know. And that, we want the Epstein files and they owe it to us. And that was our vote. And until those things are given and they stop taking people off the streets, Trump is treasonous.
Yep.
He's a liar and he's committed treason. And
You know what's ama
he stole the vote from the people.
That's right. You know what's amazing is, like, you guys hearing you talk, I think is much more effective in just hearing from your heart, like, I put this trust in him, this trust was taken. Look, the vast majority of people, and I dealt with these colleagues in Congress, like the vast majority of them, they switched as Trump switched, right? All of a sudden, he doesn't want to release the Epstein files. They're out arguing why he shouldn't release the Epstein files. They have no moral center. They're willing to move wherever Trump goes. What listening to you guys talk and basically saying, look, here is my moral center, right? I'm not going to flex off of that. And if Donald Trump
Yeah,
leaves that or he betrays that, that's fine. I'm not going to go with him. I think
absolutely.
that is more effective than any speech I could give in front of 100,000 people, because that's genuinely from your heart. And I
Right.
think you're speaking to the heart of so many others in your kind of situation.
Yes. Amen. I believe so too.
Yep.
I believe so too, Adam.
Well, listen, guys, is there anything you want to kind of leave people with in terms of, here's our story. We want you to take this with you. Anything you'd like to kind of leave them with, and as we kind of wrap up here.
You want to say anything?
Mhm.
Just I hope our story will help people out there and know that they're not alone. And my wife, she has that YouTube channel out there, and there's an email there. People have been reaching out. Everyone's welcome to contact us if they want advice on how to handle certain. People are scared too. Adam, they reach out to us. How did you have the courage to do that? And I say, God, and you have to stand
Hmm.
up from what's in your heart. Do what's right, not what you're told. Do what's right, not what you're told. Um, and just we're here for the people, and share the video, share it with the people, and let it spread that there are people out there that are in the same situations, and we're here, and we're going to stand tall, and we're going to take America back for all people.
Amazing. Can you talk just briefly about your interaction with, like, leaving MAGA and Rich Logis? Did you guys get connected there kind of through this, or what?
Yeah, so it's just everything just fell into place. I know an attorney out there in San Diego, and I shared it with him, the video, and then he connected me with high profile Mike Marin, civil
Hmm.
rights attorney, and then he introduced me to Rich, and then it all fell into place, and thank you guys, everything just fell into place, and that's how we all got connected, and I think it was God sent, meeting Rich, um, and I hope we can continue to do things together. That would be great. I don't mind sharing. If you guys want somebody to speak, I will speak because there's a lot going on here in these small towns and out here, and there's a lot that us on the ground can share with you guys that are mostly in the offices and taking care of clerical stuff and whatnot. We're the eyes and the ears on the ground. And you want information, you call us. We'll let you know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm gonna send you guys. By the way, I just realized I haven't sent you guys my personal number, so I'll do that on the email after we hit stop here, because I want to stay in touch. But George and Esmeralda, thank you guys for sharing, and God bless you.
Thank you, Adam. God bless you.